her hearing tonight before the Committee on Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions, or HELP. Devos has never held a position in public education, either as a policymaker, administrator, or teacher. Instead, she's worked as an activist and a lobbyist advocating for the privatization of the K-12 system. Devos' home state of Michigan has been a major beneficiary of her largesse, functioning as a kind of laboratory for her educational philosophy. Since a law incentivizing the creation of charter schools was passed in 2010, fully 80% of Michigan charters have come to be operated by for-profit companies. In that same period, according to a federal review, the number of charters on Michigan's list of worst schools has doubled, a proportion the review called, quote, unreasonably high. Joined now by Diane Ravitch, who is Assistant Secretary of Education under President George H.W. Bush, author Reign of Error, The Hoax of the Privatization Movement, and the Danger to America's Public Schools. There's a few things to talk about here. One, I just want to put in context. I mean, a bunch of senators raised in the hearing today. There's not really a precedent for a Department of Education secretary who's never worked in public schools in any capacity. I mean, just starting off there before you get to the other ideological stuff.
Well, there have been governors, so you could say, well, Lamar Alexander was governor of Tennessee, Richard Riley was governor of South Carolina, but a governor has a huge responsibility for public education because it's usually the single biggest expenditure in their budget. Betsy Devos, on the other hand, has zero experience in education other than as a lobbyist for vouchers and charters and homeschooling and cyber charters, everything but public schools. She is a dedicated enemy of public education, and 85% of the kids in this country are in public schools.
Devos has Michigan, I think it's fair to say, has been kind of a laboratory, partly because there's a lot of Devos money there. She has a high degree of influence, particularly in Detroit. Your assessment of her record there?
Well, you have to understand with Betsy DeVos, first of all, the family is worth over $5 billion, according to Forbes, so they have a lot of money to spend. She has given a lot of money, she and her family have given a lot of money to the legislature, and she basically runs the state when it comes to education. They do what she wants. In the year 2000, she and her husband sponsored a referendum to change the state constitution to permit public money to go to religious schools, and the voters turned it down 69-31. Then Dick DeVos ran for governor in 2006, and he lost, and so they decided better to work from the inside. And what they have been able to do is to create like the Wild West of charters. I read the law. Anyone can open a charter. You or I could go to Michigan and open a charter, and they'd give us money. And if we can gather students, we can collect the money to open charters.
There's literally, and we should say that there are lots of people in the charter movement, which is a movement I think that you are quite skeptical of on the record of. There are people in that movement who do not like DeVos because they feel that this complete Wild West lack of credentialing is actually tarnishing the broader movement.
Right. Well, actually, Michigan was criticized by some group called something like the National Alliance for Authorizers of Charter Schools, saying that Michigan has one of the worst laws in the country because the charter people who are reputable want to see accountability. Betsy DeVos and her husband actually have discouraged accountability, discouraged any supervision. The Detroit Free Press ran a series saying that the charter industry in Michigan is now a $1 billion a year industry that's unaccountable and unsupervised, and there are scandals all over the place because unqualified people are running charter schools.
And we should say, I mean, my sense from the folks I've talked to about Betsy DeVos, people that in education circles, this is a true believer. I mean, this is a genuine ideologue who genuinely thinks the entire existing paradigm of public education is bankrupt and statist, possibly unchristian. She really is a believer in undoing and destroying that.
Well, she's been quoted as saying that her efforts on behalf of choice, meaning anything but public schools, are advancing God's kingdom. And there's a lot of kind of Christian evangelical language that gets into this. The DeVos family supports a lot of fundamentalist organizations, anti-union, anti-gay, anti-this, anti-that. But the big thing that they're interested in is breaking up what they call the government monopoly. The thing that's so, to me, crazy about this is that if you were to look at the research on, let's say, the 10 top performing nations in the world, none of them have a free market. All of them have great public school systems. So that wherever you live, whatever your zip code, there's a good public school. they don't have charters and they don't have vouchers. So she's pushing an ideology that has already been proven not to work. And the best evidence of this is to look at Michigan itself, where the charters are lower performing than the public schools. In Detroit, which is overrun with charters and for-profit charters, the results there are abysmal. She was talking in her hearing earlier this evening about results are what matter. There are no results from Michigan. In fact, the whole state of Michigan has declined on the national test over the past 15 years.
Diane Ravitch, thanks for your time, John. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Why